The topic is genetically determining the height and the coronary arterial disease. Definition: the coronary arterial disease develops when your coronary arteries, the major blood vessels that supply your heart with blood, oxygen, and nutrients, become damaged or diseased. The cholesterol contained deposits like plaques in your artery and inflammation are usually to blame for coronary arterial disease.
The heart is fed by its own circulation, known as the major coronary arteries. These arteries include the left anterior descending artery, the left circumflex coronary artery, and the right coronary artery. The bloodstream contains red blood cells, which deliver oxygen to the heart muscle, known as the myocardium. It also contains fats or lipids, known as low-density lipoproteins or LDL cholesterol. Atherosclerosis begins when LDL cholesterol accumulates in the arterial wall, forming a plaque. Over time, the plaque becomes larger. Some plaques never obstruct the coronary blood flow. The patient with asymptomatic coronary disease has no chest pain and no myocardial ischemia. A plaque can enlarge to the point that the blood flow is compromised. The patient may have chest pain, but only with exertion. This syndrome is known as stable angina and is not a clinical emergency. Such a patient is still at risk for an acute life-threatening event because a plaque can suddenly rupture, causing clotting of the artery, known as coronary thrombosis. When a thrombotic occlusion is subtotal, an acute coronary syndrome develops, and there are two types. The first type is known as a non-ST segment elevation myocardial infarction, and the second type is known as unstable angina. With these syndromes, the patient experiences chest pain at rest, and the electrocardiogram
Applications in the medicine: a shorter adult height and increase the risk of coronary arterial disease. The shorter stature is also associated with the risk factors with the CAD, including the high blood pressure, high level of low density of lipoproteins, cholesterol, and diabetes. The effect was largely unchanged after adjustment for smoking status, systolic blood pressure, history of diabetes, body mass index, lipid markers, alcohol consumption, education level, and occupation.
This animation will show how atherosclerosis develops in the heart. Click the navigation arrows below the animation screen to play, pause,
The pro. The height have a positive correlation with the diameter of the coronary arteries. With this investigation, the person that have a shorter height, they change the lifestyle, behavior, and adopted forms to prevent the coronary arterial disease. The factors that affect the cardiogenesis is the BMP, the IGF-1, and the hormonal growth, and the develop this the arteriosclerosis.
So you got your heart, right? And so your heart is sitting in your chest, and it's this muscular pump that will pump blood throughout your body. So it needs to pump blood to all the places in your body. And it actually does a lot of work. It pumps about 100,000 times a day. I'm not making that number up. It actually pumps, if you take the average heart rate, which is about 72 beats a minute, and then you multiply that through for a day, that ends up being about 103,000 beats per day, right? So it's this really hard-working muscle, this really hard-working organ. And what do hard-working muscles need? Well, just think about the last time you went on a run, or climbed a fence, or did a backflip, or whatever it is that you do to get your muscles working. They need a lot of oxygen, right? What did you feel after you did all this exercise? I mean, you were probably gasping for air, you're panting, you're just at least you were breathing heavier, right? And the reason for that is because your muscles, you've used them, you've exhausted them a bit, and now you have to pay back oxygen, right? You have to give them oxygen. Your heart is really no different. You might be thinking, well, the heart is getting access to all of the blood that it pumps out, right? So doesn't it just get like basically an unlimited supply of oxygen from that blood? Well, it doesn't, actually. So let me actually draw this for you in cross-section. So we're going to take a section through here, and we'll blow it up right here, and you can kind of see right here that the walls are pretty thick. And so the oxygen in the blood flowing inside the heart, it can't actually reach all the way across the thick heart muscle wall. It might be able to get to a little bit of the inner section of the wall, but it can't diffuse across the whole heart muscle wall because it's just too thick. So we have a solution for that, actually, and this solution is the coronary arteries. And the coronary arteries run on the outside of the heart. So here's the heart. You can see this person's right coronary artery, and you can see this person's left coronary artery, right? Actually, this is actually the left anterior descending artery, which is a branch of the left coronary artery. So again, these coronary arteries are the solution, right? They bring copious amounts of blood to the heart muscle, and they feed it enough blood to do all the work that the heart needs to do. But sometimes they can get diseased, and so coronary artery disease is one of the problems that can go wrong with the coronary vessels. So you may have heard the term clogged arteries to describe coronary artery disease. And why they're called clogged arteries is because there's this buildup of fatty substances that's almost like plumbing being clogged. So let's actually draw this out. So here is here's a close-up of the coronary vessel, right? So we have one wall there and the other wall here. So here's your blood, and here's some components of your blood. So you got your red blood cells, and here's some cholesterol, and here's some white blood cells. And when the cholesterol is sort of flowing through your blood, and it comes across a bit of damaged blood vessel wall, the cholesterol thinks, hey, that looks like a pretty cool spot to hang out. And so the cholesterol actually will start to deposit inside the walls, inside the damaged walls of your blood vessels. And the white blood cells don't really like this. So the white blood cells try to follow in after the cholesterol to get rid of them, to get them out of the wall. And that kicks off this big inflammatory process called atherosclerosis. And that just means hardening of the blood vessel, because this whole process over time makes that blood vessel wall become hard and stiff. And unfortunately, during the process, a lot of the white blood cells die. So the cholesterol can just keep depositing in there, and the cholesterol in the white blood cells sort of create this fatty bulge called a plaque. And over time, the plaque will start to bulge into the vessel. Why is that a problem? Well, I mean, blood needs to get through, right? If you've got... So we know that coronary artery disease is when you get this buildup of fatty plaques in different places in your coronary circulation. So, for example, I'm drawing in bits of this plaque, right? So this atherosclerotic plaque building up in different parts of your coronary vessels. And these are going to cause coronary artery disease, right? These are going to lead to downstream pathologies, diseases like stable angina and an acute coronary syndrome. So we know that this is really bad, right? We don't really want coronary artery disease to be happening in our bodies. So is there anything we can do about this? Is there anything that we can do to stop or prevent these plaques from building up in our arteries? And in fact, yes, there are some things we can do. And you know, we didn't always know that there was something we can do. Way back in the 1940s, I believe it is, the late 1940s, there's a study done called the Framingham Heart Study. And the Framingham Heart Study was pretty revolutionary. It showed that there were risk factors for developing coronary artery disease. And so why is that revolutionary? Well, it means that there's something we could potentially do to reduce the incidence of coronary artery disease. And that's really good, because coronary artery disease is the leading cause of death in men and women in the U.S. So all this talk about risk factors. What exactly is a risk factor? Well, a risk factor is something that predisposes you to something else. So, for example, you could say that by
If we look through the chest wall, exposing the lungs and pericardium, which is the fibrous covering of the heart, we can see the heart actually beating inside the chest cavity. There's the left coronary artery up close, and the right one as well. They supply blood to specific regions of the heart. Damage to or blockage in either of these vessels can injure the wall of the heart. If we focus in on the left coronary artery, you can see the red blood cells traveling through it unimpeded. But if the inner wall of the coronary artery becomes damaged, cholesterol plaque can build up, progressively narrowing the available pathway through which blood can flow. Clotted blood attempting to traverse the blood vessel may find it tortuous and too narrow for passage, and the artery may become completely constricted or blocked off. The blocked artery results in a lack of oxygen or ischemia to the part of the heart muscle that the artery supplies. The result is a heart attack.
The cons is thus not a rule of the possibilities that the association between the genetical determination high with an increased risk of the CAD is due of the lifestyle choice or the behavior adopted by such person as direct consequence of being shorter. Whatever the way relate variants showing and associations with the quantities of the cigarettes smoking a month and the smokers, but there found no evidence for this hypothesis. Conclusion. There is a primary association between a genetically determined short height and increase the risk of CAD, a link that is partly explained by the association between the short height and adverse lipid profile. The shared biologic process that determines achievements, the height and the development of the arteriosclerosis and may explain some of the association.